Key56 Internet Radio. I'm DJ AJ here at Black Comix Weekend at the World Beat Center in beautiful Balboa Park, and I'm sitting here with David G. Brown. Hello, David.
Hello, how are you doing? It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm doing great. It is a pleasure to be here with you. I'm really excited about what you are doing here with all these amazing artists it looks like from all over. But talk to me specifically about your work and what you have to offer here.
Okay, so I'm from Los Angeles, and what I want to talk about is a lot about how we need to create our own narratives and our own stories. And so I've created characters. I also do political cartoons, and I want to talk about how I can use these characters, these narratives, and my skills to educate and motivate our community.
Yeah, I mean, the Black narrative has, I feel like, for a long time been missing from popular comics. And in what ways do you hope to spread this message through young people?
Well, I think that the visual media is very powerful. And I think that using it in a way where it engages young people, captures their attention, and through that be able to tell more about our history and what situation we're in and what we need to do to move forward, as a community.
Absolutely. And I know that you're a certified artist with the LA Unified School District. So talk to me about what you do with your students.
Okay. I started out, let me talk a little bit about my background. So I started out in advertising, and advertising has a powerful impact on how people buy and how people perceive things. And I moved from the East Coast, and I moved to Los Angeles, where I worked in the film and television industry, where I worked as an animator, storyboard artist. And what was a change for me that moved me into the direction that my career went into was the LA riots in the 90s, the Rodney King riots. And out of the riots, I created an African-American superhero called the LA Phoenix. And what I wanted to do is show young people there's other ways of dealing with conflict than violence. So this superhero character has all non-lethal weapons and deals with community issues. And that was really kind of a real turning point for me in terms of my career and how I could use my skills to impact the community.
And at that time, we were talking about the LA riots. What sorts of images did young people have? What sorts of narratives did young people have for Black people in the media?
Well, I think the media perceived Black people as being violent, angry, and I thought it was really important that we put out their images that showed the positive sides of that, and also seeing the different perspectives from an African American perspective in terms of the suppression and the injustice in the city of Los Angeles, which caused the riots. Because I don't think enough was really emphasized on what caused the riots, and so that we can prevent something like that from happening again.
And the character LA Phoenix, aside from the fact that LA Phoenix doesn't use any violent weapons, what else is special about LA Phoenix?
Well, I think that one of the things that is important is understanding conflict resolution. Because oftentimes, especially our young people, they need to know that there's options other than violence. More violence, perceiving violence. That's not how you solve things. And learning different strategies in terms of how we can solve problems and work together in a positive way.
And how many different characters do you have, or how many different stories do you have working now?
Well, so besides the LA Phoenix, I do political cartoons for the Los Angeles Sentinel newspaper. So I do a weekly cartoon that oftentimes deals with issues that are happening in our community and about politics. And one of the things I want to do using my political cartoons is to make people more aware of what's going on and what they need to do in terms of making our community better. Because I think oftentimes we are angry and we're upset and we want to change things, but I think it's important to come up with specific strategies and make people more aware of what they can do to make a change. Like, for instance, voting and the importance of voting and the upcoming census, making people more aware of that inequities and criminal justice, and actually throughout our society, there's a lot of things that we need to resolve.
Those are definitely important messages, especially right now in this election year, in a census year. What's the number one thing you want young people to know?
One of the main things I want young people to know is that their vote counts, and every one of us count, even though sometimes the media or even teachers sometimes or people in power want to marginalize us. And I think that the president that we have now is notorious for doing that. And I think that people need to know, and individuals need to know that they do count, and there's things that they can do to empower themselves.
Absolutely. Every individual voice matters. Speaking of presidents, you have a really, really cool book here called Barack, Race and the Media, The Obama Legacy. Talk to me a little bit more about this.
Well, I never thought that I would see the day when there was an African-American president. And I was so proud and happy that America was able to vote in an African-American president. And he was the classiest president that I think that America has ever had. And I think that, especially in light of the Trump presidency, I think it just gives us more of an appreciation for the president that he was. If I was going to fault him in any way, it would probably be that I think that he maybe was a little too compassionate, and I would have liked to see him be a little more hardline in terms of some of his decisions. And I mean, because he was really good at compromising, but I think that the opposition often took advantage of that.
And I had the opportunity to flip through the book. I think there are some really important themes that you have in here about violence, violence with police, probably street violence. I think most of your books seem to be geared more towards kids, but because of the themes in this book, it might be better to have these types of conversations with a parent or an adult.
I agree. But I think that not only does this book talk about Obama's legacy, but also about the disparity in our society and the equity in our society. I'm one of a few black political cartoonists. Nationally, most of your political cartoonists are middle-aged white men, and they have no idea from the perspective of an African American. And I think oftentimes that issues that deal directly with us and our community get marginalized, or even not wrote about at all. So I feel really that my job is really important for me to be a voice for those of us that don't have a voice, and speak for those, and to be boldly speak about the things that we need to change in our society, and specifically in America.
Well, we really appreciate trailblazers like you forging new paths in the comic world, working with young people, and putting out new and real narratives of black people into the comic space, which I think is really exciting.
It's really exciting for me. I remember the first Comic-Con I went to, and you could literally count the number of people of color that were there. That was in like the early 90s. And it's so exciting to see, as over the years, to see more people of color and more women engaged in this industry. And so I'm really excited specifically that there is an event and enough of a demand that we would have something that's specialized in creators of color.
This is the third annual Black Comix weekend. I don't know if this is the second year we've been here at the World Beat Center.
Actually, it's the first year at the World Beat Center. We were at the Malcolm X Library for the last 2 years.
And now looking around this room, it's full of people. We're almost bursting at the seams. What does that mean for you?
Well, what that means to me, especially when I look at the young people that are there, and to me it's just so empowering for young people to see black creators creating. I know when I was coming up, we had superheroes like Superman, but they were all white. And I think that it's exciting for them to see characters and creators that look like they do.
Black Panther was probably my first introduction to any sort of black comic world, but the black comic world has been going on for a long time.
For a very long time, but it just didn't really have that mainstream appeal or exposure. So I think we're living in a really exciting time.
Absolutely. Now, where can people find your comic books, your work? Where can they connect with you?
Okay, they can find my Obama book on Amazon. So it's called Barack, Race in the Media, The Obama Legacies. You can find it on Amazon. And then you can reach out to me on social media. Matter of fact, you can just Google David G. Brown, cartoonist, and you'll find me.
And so you're on Instagram?
I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter also. So I'm not hard to find.
And you got a book on Amazon. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's exciting, and it's really exciting to be able to put my work out there and know that it's making an impact on the society.
All right, so what's next for you?
What's next for me? I have a couple other book ideas. I don't really want to talk a whole lot about it right now.
Top secret.
But a couple of things that I am really passionately interested in. I'm interested in documenting music. Music is one of the things that I'm really passionate about. So I do want to do something relating to the evolution of music, and because I think not enough credit has been given to the African influence on our society's music and how that evolved. I'm also very interested in the Black Panther Party and doing a graphic novel, something related to that, because I think that the perception is that the Black Panther Party was this violent, malicious and group. And a lot of them were actually assassinated by the FBI. But they were one of the first organizations to actually start a breakfast program for kids. They were also one of the first organizations to start a newsletter. And I think that the perception is not true, the true narrative. And I would like to for the next generation to understand the value and the trailblazing things that they did as an organization.
Absolutely. I think this is very timely, very fascinating, and there's a whole new generation coming up who can kind of take on the work that our ancestors have put in and take it to the next level. So that's wonderful. I'm so glad to be here with you, speaking to you and learning about what you're doing with young people and for young people.
Right. Thank you very much. I just want to also mention that I also teach for Los Angeles Unified School District, and I have a program. It's called Tales from the Kids, and where I work with young people. They get a chance to create their own stories, do their own drawings, and then we're creating these exciting books. And I also have a partnership with the Los Angeles Public Library, so these books are distributed through the libraries and help promote the summer reading program through our library system.
That's excellent. I love when stuff is at the library because that means it's open and free for everyone. All right, well, thank you, David.
Thank you.
And come join us out here at the World Beat Center for Black Comix Weekend. We'll be here for the rest of the afternoon, and you can stop by the table and check out these awesome comic books.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.